let the other side win.
Well,
we have nothing worth defending. This is moral and political suicide.
What people would say, though, is that it's not so much end the struggle; it's end, again, putting words in their mouth, admittedly, but end the deaths of American soldiers on behalf of a cause that is of questionable interest. And I know you disagree with this, but is of questionable national interest to this country. You disagree?
Well, they may want the struggle to be bloodless, but then they should have picked another enemy. They should have found a nicer one than Al-Qaeda to be fighting.
You believe that
wait a minute. You see the incoherence of what... I know you're not speaking in your own words, but suppose that was someone's position, see how incoherent it would be. The same people say it's a distraction from the fight against Al-Qaeda. It is the fight against Al-Qaeda. Giving Al-Anbar province to Al-Qaeda is not taking part in the struggle against Al-Qaeda, it's capitulating to Al-Qaeda. If you want to fight against Al-Qaeda and not have any unpleasant bloodshed, then maybe you should pick some other enemy to have. But this one seems to have picked us. And I expect the fight to be going on for the rest of my life, and I expect people to get killed in it a lot. But I want the United States Armed Forces, who are playing this exemplary role in Iraq, are getting better and better and better at reducing our casualties and increasing theirs, and that's what I like to see, and I want those two graphs to get even sharper than they are now.
When critics of your point of view say, but Al-Qaeda was involved in 9/11 and Iraq wasn't, and yet we chose to fight in Iraq as opposed to in Afghanistan.
Well, excuse me, you went first to Afghanistan and cleaned out the Taliban.
Right, but there are those who would say that we didn't finish the job in Afghanistan, and actually the Al-Qaeda and Taliban have come back in greater numbers in Afghanistan than before the invasion, or equal numbers, and that, in fact, Al-Qaeda was not in Iraq until we began the war. Again, that's the popular criticism.
Yeah, I know. I don't know how people believe it's in the face of all the evidence. Right. First, we did clean out the Taliban from Afghanistan. If they're not all gone, it's because, unfortunately, our supposed ally Pakistan has a long common border with Afghanistan and is never going to let its former clients completely go out of business. But they can't get Afghanistan back. We can completely stop them from doing that. In Iraq, we know very well that the leading ghoul of Al-Qaeda, Mr. Zarqawi, was in Baghdad well before that, and if you look even at Mr. Tennett's book, a man who dislikes the whole operation and who never wanted us to go to Iraq in the first place.
And you don't seem to have much respect for
none whatever. I can't believe he was ever the head of anything, let alone of a national intelligence service. But he says in his book, the alarming, really truly alarming signs of increasing cooperation between Saddam Hussein and Osama bin Laden just could not any longer be ignored, unless you were willing to face the American people later and say, well, perhaps I should have paid attention.
The position that bin Laden and Hussein were in any way allied is one you acknowledge is in dispute. There are people who disagree about that.
No, there's no disagreement about it. There's only disagreement about the extent of it. We don't know if it rose to the level of operational cooperation or not. Well, I tell you one thing, if it was up to me, it never would. The regime that was flirting with it would cease to exist. Gone.
Would we
the
not
president who didn't do that should have been impeached.
Would we not have been better off killing bin Laden as opposed to moving off of bin Laden and getting on to Hussein?
No, we had an appointment with Saddam Hussein anyway. Remember, both houses voted under the Clinton administration in '98. I think without demur for the Iraq Liberation Act, that it shall be the policy of the United States of America to remove the Saddam Hussein regime anyway. 9/11 is essentially irrelevant to this. It only makes it more urgent.
Right. And you wrote on Slate one of
and that was partly because of his consistent and up until then unwaveringly consistent use of Baghdad as a place of hospitality for Abu Nidal, for Abu Abbas, the man who killed Klinghoffer, for his financing of the Islamic Jihad suicide bombers in Palestine. All of that was undisputed as well. The idea that he wouldn't go near the next most lethal anti-American force in the region is on its own face absurd.
Well, we're out of time. A lot more to talk about on Iraq. I wish we had longer, but I appreciate very much your being here. Thank you very much and congratulations on the book, and good luck with your tour.
Very nice of you to have me.
Thank you, Christopher Hitchens. Appreciate it.
Mucho gusto.